welcome back. In the last episode, we spoke about where you all came from, and today I want to speak about what it actually felt like to start building. What's fascinating listening to all three of you is that regardless of the industry, there seems to be a common thread and the willingness to bet on something before anyone else can see it. So Garth, why does New Road actually exist? And not the business version, but the personal one?
Well, Mix, I think there's actually like a twofold answer to this. Paul and I, since 2010, we've done call it not saying a couple ventures together, more like a couple adventures together. The one thing I knew is we wanted to do something together. We never knew what it was. Looking back 2010, 2013, 15, different things that we did. We knew we wanted to do something together. So I think a big part of the why is, meeting Paul, and connecting those dots. But a second part of the why is, what most guys don't, or most people wouldn't know, essentially our goal was to move to the US. After I came back from some of my studies and that there, got an offer actually at the IFC and came back to South Africa, and the plan was, to go across there. But when we got back, you can quickly be swept in that wave. You're around there, you're on those campuses, and life's green on the other side. But when you get back here, you realize all the things that make us South African, and all the things you enjoy that can't be replaced. Whether it's the boerewors, whether it's the braais, but also just the good old jarring, the South Africans. When I remember coming back at the airport, I think it's something probably Ethan knows as well. Come from a long stint, a bit longer sometimes, overseas. But just the customs ladies and stuff. There's a warmth in South Africa that can't be replaced. And yes, I think that one of the big whys that started is I came back. I knew I wanted to do something. There wasn't a better time than the then. So it was almost a burn the boats to take the island type of situation. Sat at Rock and Mamas with Paul, and the why was let's build something. So I think a big part of that why is we never had any other option. Actually leads back to Ethan from the previous episode. You commit yourself, you don't have another option right now, and the option was this is what we're doing. So I think that why was we're doing this. Hello High Water, something we're doing.
Was there a moment that you looked around and thought someone needs to do this differently? And was there something in the industry that was frustrating you?
I don't know if it started more as a frustration, but I think it was a came to realization that, sitting there having a chat with Paul, we knew that we both wanted to contribute to the industry. I think first and foremost, just like I spoke about in the previous episode, that you want to see yourself in something. Like I said to you, if we come back to the business, we don't see ourselves anymore. That will be pretty demotivating. In the same way is my industry. I want to see a bit of myself in what we do. So I think we knew we wanted to do something. We wanted to have our spin on it. So I think that was quite a big motivating factor, is to kind of relate to what we're building. And as I spoke to, we want to build something that we would want to put our family in. Because when you get into finance, you become that guy, same as if you have a doctor in the family, I was saying to Ethan earlier, like you, that person, if you're a doctor, where he says, oh, can you check this mole? You're the finance guy, and it's bright talk, and they say, oh, yeah, just chat to Garth, ask him something, and I wanted to be able to, not recommend something, because, of course, not give the advice on it, but be able to build something that advisors could use that I fully felt comfortable with, and could relate to and see ourselves in, and when I look at the products, I don't just see me, I see a bit of everybody else involved in it, whether it be some of the analysts, whether it be some of the distribution teams, even on the compliance side, how things are worded, everybody's had their part to play, and that for me is amazing.
Awesome, thank you, Garth. Paul, from your side, what was the investment case for building this, and not financially?
Mikayla, I think, as Garth said already, I think we were very fortunate to meet each other at a fairly young age, and a sort of a time when we were both sort of starting out in our careers in the financial world. And I think, I hope the same for Garth, but I think we definitely, you could see that there was the relationship we built early on, you feel like, it's a kindred spirit. It's someone that you know that you don't know what you're going to do together, but there's going to be something at some point, And, we're very, I think, we different people, like we have very complementary skill sets, but we're also very similar in many ways as well, and that's important. I think we kind of went our own ways. Personally, for myself, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to do something for myself. I just think there's an element of freedom in that. as I said, in the previous episode, I wanted to be a professional adventurer. I like taking risk. I like adventure, and it's no different in the corporate world or in the working world. Is to go on adventures and to take risk. And I always knew I wanted to do that. So, I've taken a few risks in my career. But ultimately, Garth and I were always in contact. We were together. We did our own things, some separate things. I was in wealth management before we kind of started conceptualizing New Road, and eventually, just got together. I think we're both in a place where it was the logical next step, and decided to do it. And for me, it's I think one, my personality, wanting to, as I say, go on adventures and take risks. But two, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a mark. I think the conceptualization around New Road was, let's leave a positive mark on the industry that we're involved in, and that's a huge driving or a huge consideration for me when going to work on a daily basis is, are we leaving the industry in a better place? Are we leaving a positive mark? That's very motivating for me, and that's kind of my, let's call it my bellwether on if what we're doing is worthwhile or not, and then also leaving a legacy for my family. I think it's important. I'm a father. I've got my third on the way soon, due really soon, and just leading by example and showing them what life's about as well, and that's very important to me.
What does New Road do that you couldn't do anywhere else?
I think it's a twofold answer. I think professionally and what we do as a investment management business, as we have a very sort of robust process that we've developed over time that it's not just been kind of conceptualized through the investment landscape. It's, taking our diverse histories and what we're doing before, myself being an engineer, the team that we've brought on, a lot of people from outside the industry. I think, the process that we've built, I think would be very hard to replicate. But also, that's more a technical answer, I think. But the second part of that answer would be, I think, just the way we conduct ourselves with the people around us. I think the clients we have, the people that we work with on a daily basis, I think that culture that we have at New Road, I think would be very, very difficult to replicate. And I think that's important. And that speaks to the individuals that we have in the business, which I think is really, really powerful.
Speaking of the individuals, I'm going to hand over to Ethan now and ask you a question on why New Road, and what were you actually saying yes to when you agreed to being the brand ambassador for New Road Capital?
So besides the money, no, I'm just joking. So if we first started talking, I think we all hopped on a Zoom call, us three and my agents, and I think just my journey and your guys' journey aligned. I think we were both, starting off in a as a small fish in a big pond, and I think we both, besides the fact that we just want to be the best at what we do, we both like the journey that we wanted to take to get there sort of aligned. And I remember after that Zoom call, I spoke with Dylan and I just said, I think these are the guys. I mean, the way you guys chatted, you were so chilled, you were so enthusiastic, and like you always say, it feels like family. Yeah. And I think I related a lot with that. And I mean, I couldn't say no. There's no ways I could say no. And since then, you guys have been amazing. I can talk to Garth literally about anything. I can have laughs, I can have jokes, I can play golf with them, plan trips or whatever it is. And like you said, it is a family, and I couldn't be more happy with my decision.
Oh, that's amazing. So referring to that Zoom call that we had, I remember that you specifically wanted an asset manager or someone in the finance industry. So what does it mean to put something behind your name, and be associated with a specific brand?
I think something especially like this is just quality, having a good sort of own personal brand. It means a lot to have someone like you guys who, like you say, you guys are doing well, you guys are new, you guys are quality, people can trust you. So I think we speak to each other. I think my brand helps you guys, your guys' brand helps mine, and I think it was important that I aligned what I want my brand to be with someone that I partner with. So I wasn't going to go out there and find, obviously not going to mention names, but something that doesn't align with me, because it's not who I want to represent, who I want the media to see, who I am, who I hang out with, So it was all, like I said, values-based, whereas you guys also very, very much values-based. And I think we found that in each other, that we really do work with each other, and we can grow each other because of the relationship that we have.
Okay.
On that, it also just adds, when you said values-based, it's also family values.
Yeah.
I think I had known Ethan for like 30 seconds in the car from the airport, and we're already on to talk about our families, whether it was talking about his parents or his uncle, or his girlfriend's family, and I spoke about my family. It was literally the first, progression in it. So I think it's for me as well, like that family values, whether you see it in a company, whether Ethan also refers to his teams as a family. He often talks about, with the Sharks and with the guys on camp, and even, we speak off the scenes about the relationship dynamics between, the girlfriends and the wives and stuff, and he says we are a big family. So it's the same thing in this space, and I think when you're in a place where you can feel you look belonging and you're part of a family, I think naturally it just makes things easier.
It's beautiful. So Garth, why Ethan? What did you see in him the moment that you met him that had nothing to do with rugby?
So also one of the big facts, Ethan, for me was, it's not neither negative or a positive, but something I could relate to. And Paul's side, his route to the Springboks was not an orthodox one. You get these guys that go through at these big schools, it comes through, like I'm a small town guy. I know I'm from Volkom, but went across, and it's my route to asset management. Even though I studied investment management, the route was an orthodox one. I related a lot to that. Even though Ethan's from Durban, I see him as a small town guy. If you chat to him and you get to know him a little bit, he's a community-based guy. He went back to his roots. He stayed in his school, where he was. And I mean, the same as another guy, Dean Olga from Volkom as well. He also didn't go to Grey College, also not orthodox roots. And shout out to Dean. But no, jokes aside, is I think I related to that is like he stuck to those values. That small town, he knew what it was going to be. He believed in what he wanted to do. We didn't go Paul and I neither. We didn't. Orthodox route is analyst at a big asset management company. The general route is my original offer out of varsity was actually in that space. I took an unorthodox way across. You want to be that guy in Sainton in the suit, coming out of varsity. And I'm sure Ethan, when he was young, he wanted to be that guy that went straight into that varsity. Was contracted. And at the time, you feel like you look at the other guys doing their thing, but in retrospect, I think that alternative route is what shaped our competitive advantage and was a blessing. And like I think Ethan alluded to it for him too. So I think that alignment, the small town values, or not saying big town doesn't have good values, but that small town feel, I think that's one of the big reasons.
Awesome. I think Neuro definitely did make the right decision with going with you as a brand ambassador. So we're really grateful that you did choose us as well. Garth, what did the early days of Neuro feel like? Not the one that you would tell to the industry, but rather the real one.
A lot of ups and downs. Let me tell you that people are, like you look at where you're at, I think I expected the ups to be a little more up and the downs to be a little bit more down, just probably something in between the two. But really a lot of that. The side that most people don't see is sometimes how close you are, in brackets, to failure. How many little decisions along the way could have went the other way, small things along the route that could have changed how things turn out completely. So I think that side of it, those sleepless nights, that we lean on, the nights, phoning Paulie, going across, or Karine, and going, just that's what people don't see. Everybody sees, that person you put out there, or you go out and you've got it all figured out. I think if you look closer to it, that's the image that the world sees. But behind the scenes, it's really, really something different. And I think that's a side that no one else sees. And it's in business, I think it's in sport, I think in life in general. We project our best selves, and the people closest to us are sometimes, unfortunately, in the position to see not the best selves. And I think that's also where you grow more. You grow more out of the, and it's a cliche. You learn more out of the bad than the good. But I don't think you learn out of good. I think you grow out of the bad, and you learn to accept the good, and you capitalize on the good, but you don't really grow on it. And I think the side that they don't see is just those tough times, those times where you feel things are unfair. There was a couple of times I think, yes, but this isn't fair. This is not right. And you can get in your doldrums, and you can become depressed, and almost become but you also realize the world isn't fair. Nothing's going to be handed to you. Not everybody sees the world that you do the way you do as well. Some people are willing to do things differently, and I think that's the side that you don't see, is the side that not figured out. You have to get up sometimes to the team and act like you've got it all figured out, and you don't. We still don't have it figured out. It's something I often say to when anybody joins the company. I can't tell you what the path of the business is. I can tell you what I'd like it to be, but it's, you know, I can't tell you how we're gonna get there. But that's also the fun of it, I guess.
Was there a time where you and Paul looked at each other and you thought, like, what have we done?
Yes. Today, every day, no. Realistically speaking, I think it was, believe it or not, we started our funds in hard lockdown. You know, and Ethan alluded in the previous episode to sometimes, you know, the worst thing, you think it's the worst thing, but it can be the best thing. We actually spoke about it, you know, we started it in that like hard lockdown. April 2020 is when the funds launched. And we weren't sure if the world was ending or not. And I was like, yo, this is a good time to become self-employed. You know, all of a sudden the corporate jobs look a lot better. But in retrospect, I think that was a massive one for us. Like, what have we done? You know, and believe it or not, like as I made a joke about earlier, often you sometimes feel that, you know, what have we done here? You know, like, because it's, you know, you spoke about sacrifice previous episode, there's things that you do and you're in and the type of person you have to be, you know, to get to your goals and achievements, you know. And I think any person sits there, I mean, I think comrades, people that just finished recently, they often think, what have I done? You know, and I think in all journeys, you know, it's like that. So I would say it's a continuous thing. What have I done? But the what have I done's become more exciting and less daunting because it's like, wow, what have I done? You know, and yeah, I mean that's been the journey.
Awesome, thank you, Garth. So Paul, Garth just briefly mentioned the fact that, you know, you guys started your funds in level 5 hard lockdown, March of 2020. And you, who's the Chief Investment Officer, whose job's always around the numbers, how did that feel in that moment of uncertainty, you know?
Mikayla, I mean, yeah, looking back, I mean, it was surreal to say the least. You know, at that point in time, no one really knew what COVID was and where we were going to go as a society. And, you know, I remember sitting at my dining room table actually, and like, you know, the money got seeded into our first 4 funds. And just thinking that, yeah, what have we done? Like, you know, we've got the world. Is it ending, or what's happening? And now we've got this money to manage. You know, so it was surreal. And I think since then it's been a surreal experience. I mean, I don't think I've you know, kind of feel like Alice in the Looking Glass. You know, I still feel like I'm in that kind of made up world since then. You know, I don't think I've really settled back to what it was like before then, because it was such an impactful event in our lives, to not just COVID, but also starting a business at the same time. And it's definitely shaped, you know, how we do things, and you know, how I see, you know, the world and who I am. And but yeah, it's you know, you've got that. You just got to kind of rely on your training, you rely on your knowledge, rely on your skill set, and you get through it. You know, in hindsight, you know, it's I suppose in a way it was a blessing, because we're kind of forged in a really tough time. You know, so you know, I suppose all these experiences that we have in life, you know, ultimately it's what you take out of it. And really, I mean, you know, if I look back and I think of, you know, starting through COVID, it's actually a blessing, you know, that we were able to kind of get forged through that. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but one that we still very much on.
And how do you manage pressure? Because I think a lot of the time you're the person that the team actually looks to for answers during those times of uncertainty.
Yeah, I think pressure's just part of life. You know, I think you obviously have to develop a skill set to manage pressure, but pressure can be good as well. I've always, you know, from a young age, kind of responded well to pressure. You know, I feel like, you know, it's a cliche, but diamonds are forged under pressure. And you know, I think it's something that I've been able naturally just kind of had a good capacity for. But yes, as I get older, you know, you sometimes think, you know, that pressure still sits there, and it's just about dealing with it. It's about, you know, developing the kind of mechanisms and the tools to be able to deal with it. I think family is very important from that aspect. Well, 2 things. I think being able to rely on others in the business is very important. I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of the time you want to do everything yourself. You know, Garth and I often talk about this, you know, just because someone does something a different way doesn't mean it's bad. It's just their way versus your way, you know, and that's something we joke a lot about with each other. But relying on others, I think, is really, really, really important. And that's something that as business people, we are doing more and more. And then also relying on your family, relying on your personal kind of support system. You know, my wife has been phenomenal. She's a always believed in me. My family's been phenomenal. They've always believed in me more than, you know, believe in myself. And that's important, that, you know, it's always that support structure that you can fall back on. And I think, you know, when I go home, it's been a hard day, you know, I know my wife's there supporting me, and, you know, that's really, really helpful, putting my head back on track, you know, giving me the perspective I need. You know, especially, you know, when you're building, there's a lot of, it requires focus, it requires an obsessive kind of mindset. And you can get into your head quite a lot, especially with a personality like mine. You can live in your head a bit, and my wife, you know, brings me out of that, and that's extremely helpful.
What do you think those times taught you about resilience?
At the end of the day, resilience is about faith, right? It's about trusting in a process. It's about trusting in your journey, and that's, you know, I think you're not always going to have the answers. You very, very rarely actually have the answers, right? You always have the answers after the fact. It's easy looking back, but I think that's what resilience is about. It's about just trusting in process, trusting in, for me, in God as well. You know, person of faith, just having that faith and just trusting that you know, there's a plan.
And whatever's meant to be will be.
Yeah.
Ethan, this one's for you. Do you remember the first time that you walked into a professional Sharks or Springbok environment and realized that this is real?
So for the Sharks, I remember the first interaction I had with the seniors, as we called them there, was we were just gymming, and the coach came up to me and he said, he basically asked me if I want to play this weekend, which was a trick question, obviously. Obviously I'm going to say yes. I was a bit nervous, and he said, okay, cool, you're starting. So that was like a slap in the face. It was like, I don't have time to get ready. I need to be ready right now. So it was one of those things. And then with the Springboks, I remember it was in here in Joburg, also winter time, very cold. And I think our schedule had it at 6 o'clock in the morning, a watt bike session in the hotel, like just outside there, because we had the whole floor. So right there outside by the elevators, they have like a couple watt bikes, and you just get on watt bike at like 6:30 in the morning, just to burn the lungs before breakfast, you know. And I was like, what's going on here? Why do we need to do this? And little did I know that was every single day for 3 weeks of preseason. So it was tough. I think the Sharks was a bit better. I was just immediately into game week. Luckily, I just come off from a junior game, so I was sort of mentally prepared for, you know, like the game time. But then the Springboks, like I said, I was literally a call on the Saturday night. Sunday I was there. Monday I was on the watt bike. So it was a little less time to gather everything and just sort of comprehend everything. Luckily, I didn't play. Well, not luckily, but I didn't play for a couple of weeks after that. So I sort of got hang of things. Got to make some mates there. Luckily at the Sharks, I already had lots of mates and stuff. But I mean, both teams are awesome. They really make you feel at home and feel like a family member.
What do you think surprised you most about that world?
I think how it's completely opposite to what you think it is growing up. So in high school, there's a lot of hierarchy, you know, the matrics, the juniors, the grade 8s and stuff, and it's sort of like respect your elders, whereas the moment you're into a professional environment, you could have guys on 100 caps, you have guys on 5 caps, it doesn't matter, everyone's on the same, you know, everyone's treated the same, everyone's looked after the same nutrition, gym workouts, everything. Everyone's sort of on a level playing field, and as much as we are South African, we do have respect for our elders, and I do look up to the guys, if not all of them, and have lots and lots of respect for them. But I know it works both ways, and they realize that the only way to get the best out of you is to have respect going both ways. Because I mean, if I'm on that field running around feeling like I don't belong there, then it's not going to benefit the team, and everyone believes as team first. And there's no egos, there's none of that kind of stuff. There's just one team, we all got the same goals, the same purposes, and we all come together to fight for that purpose. As much as they do make you feel that you do belong, I felt like I still had to earn it. For a long time at the Sharks, I would get a few minutes here, a few minutes there. I didn't really feel like I'd earned myself. Even though I was like on a level playing field, I still felt like I was a bit below everyone because I hadn't earned my spots. Same with the box, you still feel like just waiting for my chance so I can just, you know, prove myself, you know. So they do very well to make you feel belong, but I think, and it's natural, I think it's natural for anyone coming into any environment that you feel like you need to prove yourself, to feel worth and feel among the circle, you know. But they do make a very good job of making you feel a part of the team.
What's the biggest thing people misunderstand of performing at that level?
I think a lot of people forget that we are human. Just as any environment, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes. It's guaranteed almost that you're going to make a mistake. And just unfortunately for us, it's seen by the whole world, and it's criticized by the whole world. It's not like we go out there to make mistakes. We're all human, like I said. And another thing is that we all have families, so lots of the guys have kids, lots of the guys have wives, and we'll go on tours for like 4 or 5 weeks sometimes, and you miss your family, and it really does take a toll on you not being there with you. I know quite a few guys will bring their families over, but it's not the same, it's not the same being away from your kids. And some guys will play club rugby in a different hemisphere to where their families are living. And I think that's overlooked a lot, that guys go through a lot not being with their family, especially if you are a family-orientated man. And like, there's obviously lots of ups and downs with being a rugby player. I'd say a lot more ups than there are downs, thankfully. But there are a few things that, like you said, like a lot of people just overlook.
What has playing at Springbok level taught you about yourself that nothing else ever could?
I think it's just to believe in myself. I felt a lot of nerves going on to get my first cap, even though I was off the bench, which normally I don't feel a lot of nerves if I come off the bench. But I think you put in so much preparation. I mean, I've been playing rugby since I was 10 years old. And although I wasn't professional at 10 years old, I've still enjoyed my whole career, and I've put in so many hours of just practicing that it's like almost like muscle memory when you get onto that field, that there's no reason to be nervous because you've played basically every scenario that you can get over and over and over times, as like physically and mentally. And I think, like I said, to just believe in yourself and back yourself, that no matter what situation the game puts you in, that you are able to come out in a positive way and be better than the person that you're facing, which, I mean, at the end of the day is what you need. You need to be more dominant than that guy if you want to get gain line, if you want to score try, if you want to win the game. And I think the Springboks, and both the Springboks and the Sharks, have taught me that I need to be able to believe in myself if I want to conquer whatever task is in front of me.
Speaking there about believing in yourself, and you said every scenario you've done thousands of times before, and so in the field you can just trust in the process. And I think that's often the same for investing. Believe it or not, is the famous last words are, "This time it's different," and I think that's when you make mistakes. It's about, we've often got times where the markets have crashed, or times where things are happening in global politics, or geopolitically around the globe. And I think it leans the same to trusting that process, practicing it, doing it over and over. And when you get to the field, is to think rationally like that, And I think it ties a lot into that, and believing, like you say, believe in yourself. I think with Paul and the team, with New Road especially, it's believing in the process, just believing, because sometimes you're there and it's like you can't trust it because things always look, like crazy, people, the world's ending, or, we had the Iran war recently, and I always think it's different. I think it's the same, a lot of parallels in investments. You've practiced things over and over and over. Just rely on you, believe in it, believe in the process, and just take it through.
Thank you so much for adding on to that, Garth. I think you made a really good point. It is about believing in yourself, and thank you, Ethan, as well. So we've spoken about the dream, we've spoken about the journey, but every meaningful journey eventually comes with pressure. And pressure as a way of revealing things about ourselves. So what I want to ask all three of you, and I'll start with you, Garth, what has pressure taught you about yourself that nothing else ever could?
So Mix, I think one thing it's taught me is, everybody says I like pressure, I do well under pressure. I don't think that's true for me per se. Doing well under pressure doesn't mean you like it. I think often people confuse the two. I don't like pressure, I perform under it. But what I've learned about pressure is that it's often, it encourages action. So good things come from pressure, and you've got the cliche, a cup of tea likes hot water, you to brew and things like that. But I think, pressure forces action, and I think that's one of the good things. And you also realize that pressure is about how you see it. You can see it as a motivating factor or demotivating factor. You don't have to like it, but it can motivate that action. So I think that's one of the big things that I've realized. And also, just like a pressure cooker, pressure can be relieved almost instantaneously, and often most of the pressure is self-inflicted. I think we externalize a lot of scenarios in our heads and a lot of things happening, and that's all in here. You know what I'm saying? So as you get older, I'm sounding like I'm so old already, but as you progress through life, you realize that most of the pressure is inside of you, and you've created most of that pressure, and sometimes a good thing, and also sometimes the bad thing. And I think it's about realizing, is this positive pressure or negative pressure? Positive pressure, lean into it, push through. Negative pressure, you got to learn not to sweat it, and like Ethan also says, got the whole world watching, and sometimes that's good and sometimes it's bad. And I think as you go through, it's about how to navigate that and to know the difference between the two.
And Paul, for you?
Mix, I think the thing about it is, the thing I've learned about pressure is to just be aware of your own limitations as an individual and be honest about those limitations. I think anyone who's let's call it under pressure on a regular basis, in isolation would fold under the pressure. I think any individual, I don't think any of us are strong enough to actually persevere under pressure and succeed under pressure in isolation. I think that's where environment plays an important role. Is who's your support system? Rely on your support system, rely on the people around you, and trust them, to help you deal with that pressure. I think that's really important. So for me, a big thing is just through life, when I face pressure, to realize that I'm limited, and I need people around me to help me through that. I think that's really important.
And what version of you shows up when the weight gets heavy?
Different versions. I mean, sometimes the anxious bug comes out. Sometimes I get cranky. I tend to, when I'm under a lot of pressure, I tend to internalize. I'm quite a naturally sort of anxious type of personality. So I tend to internalize. I tend to get into my own head a little bit, live in my own world a little bit. So it's important for me to be aware of that and to rely on that support system, as I say, to kind of pull me out of that and to just get my head straight and back on the right path. But pressure, I think pressure is a catalyst. It's important that you need some form of pressure. I think the pursuit of comfort it's a sort of empty pursuit. I think it's important. I think human beings, we thrive under discomfort, but being aware of that you're not an island, being aware that you need to rely on people around you as well, because none of us are perfect. We all have flaws, and to just make sure that we rely on the people around us.
Thank you so much for that, Paul.
So I think for me and my area of expertise is that if I'm not feeling pressure, then I'm doing something wrong. I mean, and also how you perceive pressure. I could be thinking, okay, I'm feeling lots of pressure. I'm playing New Zealand in New Zealand. But if I take a step back and I think, Ethan, you're playing a test match against the All Blacks in New Zealand. I mean, who would have thought, So I've always sort of told myself to embrace the pressure because I'm doing something right. Sometimes I'll think to myself, I'm falling behind, I'm not where I should be. But then I take a step back and I feel, okay, look at the other guys, other people in my age group, where are they? And I start to think, okay, I'm far ahead of everyone else. So I've learned to embrace that pressure. So the more pressure I feel, the more I want to almost congratulate myself because I feel like I'm doing well in something. And like I said, also being able to perceive it in the right way. Obviously, like I said, there are positive and negative pressures. And sometimes it's not the best. So you need to take a step back and think, okay, how can I get myself out of this pressure situation? But for the most part, I like to embrace it. I also do feel like I perform under pressure. And I think the two go hand in hand. If you don't perform under pressure, then I don't think you should be embracing it. Maybe find a different workspace. But for me, myself, I've learned that if I'm feeling pressure, then I'm doing something right.
Do you feel that pressure changes people, or does it reveal who they truly are?
I definitely think it reveals who you are. I think in times of pressure, people always revert back to what they know best, how they are by themselves, how they act when no one's looking. And I think that is where the true person comes out, because that's not what comes naturally to the person when they feel pressure. They want to go back to what they know, what they believe, what they find is the safe option. I think lots of the time I'm under pressure, I do sort of revert to being a bit more safe. I want to sort of, like say, there's a long pass I could make, but I'm a bit too scared, I'd rather carry. And that's also another reason why I love being in a team, because they're individuals where they feel pressure, they want to throw that long pass or something like that. So it sort of goes hand in hand. I think that's what I love about team sports, is that you've got so many different individuals that perform differently under pressure. And we're all feeling the same pressure at the same time. It's just how everyone, like I said, perceives it, and how everyone is made in that pressure and what they truly are and how they act under that pressure.
There's nothing better than being able to rely on your teammates and having that support system out there on the field. So I think it's really, truly special that you have that.
Yeah, no, definitely. there's not one man that's going to win the game. In the game of rugby, there's 15 people plus 6 on the bench. That's how it is. 7 on the bench, sorry. 8 on the bench. There's 8 people on the bench. And it's a whole 20 match day, 23 plus the coaches, plus the guys not playing. Rugby's a team sport, like I said, and that's why I love it.
Success is often very visible, but I think what the cost of success usually isn't. So Paul, what's a part of the journey that no one really talks about?
Mix, I think time. Just the amount of time that it takes to achieve something, to achieve a level of success. I think no one really talks about that. You don't see it. You see the results, you see the milestones, you see the achievements when they come. And I think but you don't always see behind the scenes. You see that time, just the amount of time it takes to master something, or to get really good at something, or to build something. I think that for me would probably be the biggest thing. It's just the day in and day out. It's everything we do. I think all 3 of us could speak to this. It's day in and day out. It's not glamorous. You wake up, you do the same thing you've done yesterday, and you hope to do a little bit better today. And that's I think the main thing is just getting through that investment in time and just being able to commit to that. And I think probably something that's especially in today's day and age, in a fast-paced world. But just understanding and realizing that these things take time.
So Ethan, Paul just touched on stuff not being glamorous now. So what would you say is the least glamorous part about being a professional rugby player that the public never sees?
Sure, I think it would be the off TV stuff, all the preseason and stuff. Some dark days, long hours. You get in the morning, 7 o'clock, and you got your fitness test, and you have a bit of a breakfast, lunch, then back on the field, gym, training. It's long days, heavy fitness. That lasts a couple of weeks. But also another thing that people don't see is, like I said before, is the time away from family. Whether it's your girlfriend, your dogs, your moms, your aunties, uncles, whoever it is that you really care about, the time that being away. But at the end of the day, it's all worth it. It really is all worth it. It's just you have to learn how to cope with it. It only lasts 15 years of your life. Hopefully you can set yourself up nicely so that after that 15 years, you can spend every minute, every day with them. And ideally, that's what I would like. I would be able to make those sacrifices now so that by the time I'm 40 years old, I can live the life that I want.
Awesome. Thank you. Garth, what does entrepreneurship actually cost for you in your world?
I think, sure, it's a difficult one because there's so many costs. It's not one thing. It's a lot of different costs at once. There's that old saying, you can have it all in life, you can't have it all at once. I think Ethan alluded to it now. But when you look at costs, actually, I've spun it around a little bit in my life. I look at seasons, because there's always going to be a season. In winter, you don't have warmth. In August, you've got the winds. Or autumn, you've got the winds. Sorry, that's actually your end of winter. But every season's got positives and negatives on it, and there's always a cost to everything. You're not going to have the beauty of the Kruger in winter, and none of the green lush, grass there. Be able to see all the animals, and things like that. So I think it's, for me, when you say what's the cost is, I see it like a season. Every season's got things that are good and things that are on maybe you don't enjoy so much. So I think in entrepreneurship, I think the unfortunately one of the biggest costs is time with family. I think Ethan also alluded to it, is you want to be there, you want to be that dad that's at the sports games, you want to be that dad or that husband, that's there, that's going for the walks in the afternoons, that can actually have a calendar that you can predict. I know we were just chatting about it in the car drive on the way here. It's so hard to plan your life sometimes with all the dynamics moving around and things happening. I think that's one of the biggest costs, I think, is that, not saying structure, because you have to have structure. Ethan's got massive structure, with the box coming along. They've got an insane amount of structure, but I think it's more about predictability, where things are going to be. I think that's one of the biggest costs, is I can never really guarantee something. I can never really guarantee long-term with the family. Can I be there? Can't I be there? I can try my best, and everybody says, oh, okay, cool, you're your own boss, or you run a business, by default that should mean you can be there. And it's actually often the opposite, because you don't have that, it's not like a structure. Like my wife being a teacher, she's got school holidays. I know for a fact when she's going to be available or not. But she's got the downside of there's no flexibility. So I think the biggest cost, I think, is with that flexibility comes, unfortunately, that is flexibility, which means that sometimes you have to put the business first. And as Ethan alluded, that's his season he's in, and that's the season I'm also in with my journey right now. And alluding to Paul's point, hopefully we can leave a legacy one day, and I think that's important.
Thank you so much, Garth, for that beautiful answer. It does resonate with us, I think, especially the culture that we have at New Road Capital. You know, sacrificing family time, it's never easy, but good things only come with sacrifice and pressure, like we've spoken about. On to you, Paul. So you're the analytical one of us out of the lot. I would assume the most analytical one. What's something in this journey that you genuinely couldn't have modeled or planned for?
I would say the people aspect. I think what makes the world so colorful is the people, the personalities and the people and the individuals that you surround yourself with. And I think big sort of thing for me is just as building the business, as you bring on people and you bring on people to help you and people to support you and different functions and roles in the business, you're dealing with people and you can never model that. That's what defines your culture. It's an organic thing that you can't kind of imprint your stamp onto it, or model it before it happens. So it's really important is just appreciating the people around you and being able to rely on your, let's call it, your relationships and the culture that you're building. So I think that's a big thing. It's something I'm still learning along the way as we build a business. You're not just building products. You're building a family. You're building a bunch of people that come together for a common good. You're building a culture. You're building a vision, and you're building a mission, and those things are important. So that I would say for me is the people aspect. Yeah. So it can be bad, can be good, I suppose. But obviously, looking at the positives, it's just the people around you that keeps the world colorful.
How would you say that you handle uncertainty when your whole role revolves around it and managing that?
Well, being in the investment management space, we've actually learned to embrace uncertainty. So we actually build uncertainty into our process. So, I think understanding that the world is the world and to try and, I think often people try and sort of, they'll try and mark their kind of will onto the world. And really that's never going to work. The world is always going to impose its will onto you, if that makes sense. And just actually embracing that, embracing that uncertainty. I actually like uncertainty. I thrive off uncertainty. I think it's what keeps the world interesting. If you can rely on your process, you can rely on what you built. I think it's important to embrace the uncertainty, to acknowledge that it exists, and to actually try and harness it in a way, which is really, really, really important.
Awesome. We've talked about the pressure, we've talked about the sacrifice. So in this next episode, I'd like to speak about what are you guys actually building, and what would make it all worth it at the end of the day, in 10 years from time. But that's for next time. So please stay tuned to the New Road Capital podcast and like and subscribe for more.